Well, welcome into another Johnny Torch Reviews. And today we are going to be looking at Cobra Kai Season 6, Part 2. Welcome into the show, everyone. I'm your host, Johnny Torch, sitting up overlooking the fair metropolis below in stately Torch Tower. And Netflix has decided to roll out the final season of Cobra Kai in small installments like this, 5 episodes at a time. In a way, it's all right because it keeps the excitement growing. It keeps the anticipation building for where the show's going. Season 6 has been pretty good so far. Let's just get right into it. I suppose a spoiler warning is in effect. I think everybody's probably had time to see these episodes by now, seeing as how it's been, I don't know, over a week at least at the recording of this video. But I was largely satisfied with this part of the season. I think we had sort of the build up with the first part of season 6 where the kids are training. We had some, drama building up to putting us where we are now. And this is like the beginning of the payoff. We start getting the Saikai Taikai matches, really great stuff there. The drama, of course, increases and builds. And I was quite, just to preface this by giving it a thumbs up or thumbs down, I would give this portion of the season anyway a very big thumbs up. Let's take a look at what's going on. We'll try to break it down a little bit into sections. First off, let's get into the Daniel mystery with Mr. Miyagi. Mr. Miyagi's legacy is somewhat tarnished when Daniel finds out that Miyagi was in the Saikai Taikai to begin with, when he pretty much preached against that, particularly in Karate Kid Part 3. And is there a reason for that? Well, the show kind of endeavors to give you one. Uh, Miyagi apparently killed someone. I think this is on the level. Um, Daniel's trying to find out what's going on. He gets some information from Terry Silver, and apparently it checks out that Miyagi killed someone in the tournament. Probably an accident. Again, we don't know really the whole story. I think the mystery seems to be building up to try to get you to think that maybe it was a grudge match, that Miyagi killed someone. But it's probably more likely that it was just an accident, and that's what turned Miyagi away from tournaments and so forth. And Daniel is trapped in a plan by Silver. And of course, we're sort of burying the lead here, but Terry Silver is back, and I was really missing him in the previous chapter, the previous part of this season, where we don't know what's going on with him, but apparently he beat the rap, so to speak, and he's let back out. And before we get into that, though, the CGI like version of Pat Morita makes an appearance here, and that's like the first time they try to show Miyagi. I mean, they show him, of course, in pictures and whatever, but in a dream sequence. I was wondering if maybe we get a flashback when that scene started, but it becomes like a nightmare scene for Daniel. And it's really interesting. It's really exciting because you feel like you've officially got Pat Morita in this series now with that like tiny little bit. I know people have gone back and forth, and the people that are outraged at Christopher Reeve's CGI image being in the Flash movie. Some people didn't really like what they did in Rogue One. I don't really have a problem with it. Some people like stuff like that when they did it with The Mandalorian, where they like de-aged Mark Hamill, and Dial of Destiny, where they de-aged Harrison Ford, and a lot of people sort of liked that, um, even if they weren't really crazy about the level to which it was done, if it was done really good or not. I think in this case it was done about as good as possible. But I liked it. I liked kind of getting, Pat Morita somewhere in this show where he's not just a photograph. And the young actor, or the younger actor portraying Miyagi in this flashback, was also very good, I thought. And so this mystery hasn't completely paid off. I think people are trying to suggest that maybe this will feed into the Karate Kid Legends movie that is supposed to be coming out with Ralph Macchio reprising the role of Daniel. But again, I don't really know. I'm kind of guessing the Karate Kid Legend movie is going to be mostly a cameo for Ralph Macchio. I don't really think that he's going to have a lot to do with that. If he does, it's going to be strange that they probably are not going to involve a lot of the cast, because people are going to be saying, well, where's his wife, and where's Sam. I don't know if they're really going to go that far by trying to link the movie with the show that much. You'll probably get a name drop, of course, here or there. They'll say something maybe about Johnny. I don't know, but they really probably are not going to hitch their wagon too much to the series, because as far as I know, they don't really have the same creative showrunners behind the movie as the show. It's two separate things. So then again, now getting on to Terry Silver, he's back, and he takes on a new dojo, the Iron Dragons, which is really, I thought, was a great idea. It's funny how the the different dojos, the different like franchises of the dojos, like kept changing hands and stuff. And Cobra Kai, it belonged to Johnny, then it belonged to Kreese, and then it belonged to Silver. And basically now Kreese has got control of Cobra Kai under the backing of Sensei Kim's grandfather. And Silver now has the Iron Dragons, which of course has a really powerful stable of the best. He's got a sensei. I can't remember his name. What was it? Wolf? That's like, a really ruthless sensei that's taking over these younger students. And, it's pretty exciting to see like all the different dojos and the different, nationalities. It's, they've got like a Brazilian dojo and Irish dojo. It's like fun because you don't really see that too much anymore. Every single like team has got to be like multiracial and stuff like that. But it's kind of funny to see how they, are reverting back to sort of like the classic way of, every country kind of having a team that kind of represents the look of their country. It was, pretty interesting. Iron Dragon seems to be the most diverse because it's hard to pin down. It feels like what they're trying to do is sort of this series has been very sort of paying off homages to Rocky as well as the Karate Kid films, and you see a lot of that on display in this one. Again, we're going to be jumping around a lot, but for instance, the training montage, it felt a lot like Rocky. We've got the subplot where Carmen is in the hospital and they don't know what's going to happen with her. Of course, she's expecting, and Johnny and Miguel have to rush back, and they basically recreate the Rocky 2 scene where Carmen tells them to win the same way as Adrian does. I almost thought Johnny was going to burst out with, "What are we waiting for?" But they didn't want to get that far on the nose, I guess. But the downside to me of this portion of the season is kind of the downside that I complained about in the first part of this season, where I feel like the drama is a little heavy. The teen angst is a little heavy, kind of the teenage sort of goings on. It's kind of been amped up a lot. With Carmen being in the hospital, I was kind of afraid that was going to be sort of like a heavy storyline. It really didn't turn out to be. The airplane ride was kind of like tense with Miguel. And of course, as I always say, Jolo is a great actor. He really puts the emotion in all those scenes where him and Johnny have like a real emotional discussion on the plane, and then when they don't see Carmen in the hospital, they really bring it every time. But he's particularly really good, and I mean, I don't know, if this is considered like heavy drama, this series, but he really has the chops for it. and I could see he's going to do really well in his post Cobra Kai career. Although I hope that Cobra Kai does continue to, you know, come back in some form. I imagine this is not the end, even if the show is going to end. Again, a lot of places to go with this. Like I said, we'll say some of the things I wasn't crazy about. I think that I was saying last time I didn't like the drama with Tori's mother dying. I kind of felt like that was a little too heavy and a little too on the nose. And some of the repercussions of that are felt in this season and this section of the season, I suppose, with Tori is sort of, you can see she's kind of like lost the light in her eyes, and she's kind of just going through the motion. She even says to Sensei Kim at some point, like, why is this so important? Why is winning the most important thing in life? It's like, you know, that's not going to get you very far in relationships and so forth. And she's on the rocks with Robbie, and Robbie is sort of, he's really flailing and being completely a mess. And he's the captain of the team, and he's like really getting beat. And there's the sort of the Three's Company style misunderstandings. Um, Robbie thinks that she's with Quan. He ends up with Zari, I think her name is. And again, it's like a lot of, kind of back and forth. I don't think we really needed. They could have just kept that kind of simpler, but they kind of like kept going down that road and getting further and further into that kind of headache that they now have to unravel. Uh, in the meantime, we have Sam is sort of attracted Axel, who's kind of like the Ivan Drago, I think, of this. Again, another Rocky comparison. He kind of looks like Rick Ashley on steroids. He's a really good character, though. He seems like an unbeatable adversary, and sort of that's what Silver paid for, is an unbeatable opponent for the Iron Dragons. And some misunderstandings there. Sam is like trying to be friendly with him because he's being mistreated, and then he kind of is taking his frustrations out on Miguel later on. We'll get to the end in a little while. Hawk and Dimitri are still having this odd couple spat, which I don't want to say it goes on too long, but I kind of feel like if we watch these binge style, it won't seem as long as it does. But I kind of feel like their infighting kind of goes on a little too long, and they finally make up here, which is really, it's really heartwarming because you really like these guys. You want to see them be pals again, and it's like it felt like it took forever to get us back there. We finally get the resolution to the Kenny and Anthony fight, that Devin sort of, she cheated to get a spot and took the spot away from Kenny, and of course Kenny blames Anthony, and we had to have that all unraveled. The way it was done, again, kind of felt, Devin kind of realizes that she doesn't belong on the team because she's like losing 6 ways to Sunday, and she kind of comes clean just at the right time, kind of conveniently, and they need Kenny to get back to Barcelona so he can take Miguel's place. And again, everybody's finally kind of on the same page now. They had it for like a hot minute that maybe Kenny was going to go to the dark side and join Silver, because none of the team really trusted Kenny because they didn't know if he was a mole. It's like a lot of working pieces in a very short amount of time, and they managed to mostly get it off without a hitch. So again, that was pretty good. Chosen is back. I'm really a fan of Chosen. I really like what they did with the character. Again, I was kind of conflicted about this, where Chosen apparently tried to reconnect with Kumiko, and she's already with somebody else, and so it kind of spirals him into sort of a drunk outburst in the the cocktail mixer or whatever. And I kind of felt like this was like a comedic beat that didn't need to happen. Um, they kind of try to play Chosen for comedy, which I don't mind, but they have to do it the right way. And I think him getting drunk and smashing orchids was just a little, it was going a little too far. I think what was more successful with the comedy was like when he was going, binary bros are back. He was as excited as the rest of the audience to see them back. Or when he's like chastising Daniel and Johnny, pull your heads out of your butt before I do. That kind of stuff was really good. I think you have to be careful though with like making the comedy for Chosen too broad, and in that case I thought maybe it was. But get minor quibbles for the season. I thought it was really good. um they suggest a relationship between Chosen and Kim, which is interesting. So they go back to some of the antagonism between Daniel and Johnny again. Um, I don't think they melt it too much, but it's like one of those things where these guys are always going to sort of get on each other's nerves. I mean, I don't think you ever want them to get along too much. I remember saying that before in one of the previous seasons, because some seasons look like they're going to get along really great. Other seasons look like they're at each other's throats. They kind of go back and forth here again, but it's kind of the nature of the beast. You know what I mean? That's kind of the way they are. And it turns out to be pretty interesting. We've got the really great matches too in this. They really outdid themselves, I think, in discovering ways to do karate, but not the way we've always seen it. I mean, we've got platform matches where they get kicked off of a platform onto the ground. We have tag team matches where they have to keep tagging out opponents and they have to learn to keep your opponent from tagging out, and really creative stuff that I don't really think ever has been attempted in a karate tournament setting. Um, the fights themselves, of course, are very good. I'm always like amazed at they. I imagine they have some stunt performers in there doing some of these high flying kicks and stuff, but they switch out so seamlessly with the regular actors that you really can't tell. I mean, back in the day, you could kind of tell a stunt man doing a stunt, but the action is so frenetic. Usually, you can't really pick out. All right, maybe that's not the actor. Maybe that's a stunt man or stunt woman. I thought it was a really nice moment there between Sam and Tori, because Sam is sort of she's like one of my favorite characters, honestly. I think the relationship between her and Tori has been really interesting in the same way that it was with Miguel and Robbie. But Miguel and Robbie, they managed to put their finger on that and really exploit that creatively to the best. In the case of Sam and Tori, it's always on the fringes where you don't know where it's going to go. And Sam is sort of like telling her, it didn't really need to be this way. We really would have wanted you to stay with us. And Tori is sort of like, well, maybe it won't come to us fighting again. And Sam is like, no, it will. And it will, because that's like they're the top students, the female students at least, of their dojos. And of course they do fight again, but the way that the season ends is with this big melee battle, this big brawl that spirals out of control. And it's because the I guess the Russian dojo uh had steroids in some of their members. And I kind of thought that that was Silver behind the scenes trying to, manipulate the tournament, because Cobra Kai was actually out. They were defeated and they were actually going to be going home. But whatever the case, the Russian sensei doesn't stand for that very much, and it turns into a big brawl. And the cliffhanger for the season is that Quan, who is the main captain for Cobra Kai, ends up dying because he tries to stab Axel with Kreese's knife. And it's interesting to wonder where that's going to go. because how do they pick up and continue on a tournament when there's actually been a death, almost a murder actually, and it turned into a death? All along, we see, and it was also, I have to point out, it was a really good moment to sort of bring Terry Silver back in the hot tub. I mean, that just sums up Terry Silver in the hot tub, and he's back, whatever it's been, 30 years later, back in the hot tub again. And there's this sort of background plot going on where Kreese wants to kill Silver. They end up having a fight again, and during this big melee, and Johnnie ends up coming to Kreese's aid. And it begs the question, exactly how is this going to end? I think I probably say this all the time, but is it going to end with Silver being the big bad? Is it going to end with Kreese being the big bad? Are one or both of them going to die? I certainly hope not. I feel like Cobra Kai, and I've said this before a million times too, is like wrestling. You don't have the villain really be, you don't want to see the villain killed off. You don't want to see the villain go to jail, because I mean, if you have a big heel, you know, you want to see the heel because he's entertaining. You don't want to see the heel go to jail. I mean, if like, whatever, Roman Reigns goes to jail or something and he's not wrestling anymore, what have you done really? You've kind of taken an exciting entertainer off the board. So that's what I mean about this show. I don't really know. When they said Silver was going to be in jail, I kind of knew he was going to come back by the end, but you say that he goes to jail at the end of the series and stuff or whatever, or God forbid you kill him off or you kill off Kreese. You kind of just completely put an end, a period on the story. And I don't know. Do you really want to do that with Cobra Kai? Do you want to make it an open-ended thing like wrestling? I think you should, because it's kind of what you've done all along. I want to mention Amanda. We had a good subplot as well in there with her, and she's the one that sort of gets Anthony and Kenny back on the same page. I kind of feel bad because we also got a cameo of Bert and Nate. We don't have a lot of the Miyagi-Do at the Saikai Taikai, and I kind of miss some of these characters. I mean, like for instance, Anthony. I don't expect him to have been like one of the best karate practitioners there, but I kind of feel like he's left out being at home watching it on TV. And maybe Nate and Bert the same way. I mean, I don't expect them to have gotten far in the finals or something, but you kind of feel like people are missing. And this is only like for the top characters, really, the top characters on the team. Where do they go from here? I don't know. I mean, like I said, I imagine the tournament has to continue, right? I suppose. I feel like Miguel has sort of gotten a back seat in this storyline of the Saikai Taikai. He's clearly the best athlete, and because he's won so many times in the past, it was time for Robbie to step up and to show that he's worthy as being the captain. But it feels like this is where Miguel is supposed to be. I have a feeling they're going to try to do a bait and switch and bring Miguel to the forefront, and he's going to fight Axel. That's why they built up this sort of rivalry between them. I don't know. I mean, I imagine it's going to be Sam and Tori again. I mean, that other Zara, I believe is her name. Maybe it's going to be her and Tori. I don't know. It's going to be tough to see what the finals are going to look like in this. I do really hope they used "You're the Best Around." I think that's the only song from the Karate Kid soundtrack, or even from the 3 soundtrack. Well, Karate Kid 3 didn't really have a big soundtrack, but the first 2 films did. And I'm pretty sure that's the only one they haven't used, isn't it? I could be mistaken, another big song from their soundtrack, but uh so I don't know. It's also going to be interesting to see where this leaves the guys like the Binary Bros. Is this really the end? They're going to separate, with Dimitri going to MIT. They had that thing where Hawk inadvertently shows Dimitri dancing, and so it like it causes the breakup between Dimitri and Yasmin. I kind of thought that was also a little stupid too, because for one thing, I don't think Dimitri is really like that dumb. I mean, it seems like not so long ago that him and Yasmin was like never going to happen, and then now it does, and now he's dancing with somebody else in another country. I don't know if I bought that, and I don't know that I buy that he made up with Hawk so soon after that. But that's what I mean about how the season's been kind of scattershot, just like this review has been. But again, we're building up to the big climax, and I have to say, Cobra Kai has been my must-watch show. I haven't had too many of them, particularly in the past 10 years. But this has become my must-watch show. I mean, it hasn't let me down yet. It really hasn't let me down this season either, even though I think I've kind of nitpicked some of the things that I think they could have done better. But, you know, I really feel like this show could have gone on, a lot more seasons if they wanted to. I think this could have gone like maybe 9 seasons. Because like wrestling, like I compare it to wrestling all the time, there really is like a lot of unlimited places you can go. They brought Kenny in. He was a great character. They brought Devin in. She was a great character. They brought in Axel and Quan this season. They're great characters. You could build on them. Zara, maybe to a lesser extent. Um, they really got their finger on the pulse of what makes, a good heel and babyface rivalry and stuff. They really could go on for a bit longer. But I guess when you see the cracks, sort of, maybe the chinks in the armor, where some of these storylines feel a little repetitive, or why are they doing that? That doesn't really seem like it makes sense type stuff. Maybe that's the right time. Maybe it's the right time for them to call it quits. But I'm going to give this portion of season 6, part 2, I'm going to give this one 4.5 stars out of 5. Like I said, besides the third episode, which I felt was a little drama heavy, I really had a ball with the rest of the episodes, this segment of the season. It's getting to be difficult to try to say what this is, this segment of this season. So I don't remember what I ranked the first season with the first segment of this season. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Are you eagerly looking forward to the final part of Cobra Kai season 6? I know I am. Let me know in the comments below, and until next we meet, this is Johnny Torch reminding you once again, keep the flame burning brightly, and I'll be with you again real soon.